And here we are. We are live. I have pressed the wrong button. I'm going to press that button. We are differently live. That is not looking right at all. Let me see what I can do to fix that. Why don't you do some talking while I
All
change the
right.
size of your head?
Yeah. Changing the size of my head is always good, I guess. The I need to mute myself watching the stream on my phone. And
I'm glad we've got a watcher.
yeah, I was just saying to Graham that I'm very impressed that we're able to run this stream from his house with his shit internet connection, and it seems to be going okay, except for a few hiccups last week. And that's pretty good. Now that I have a shit internet connection down here as well, but I have gigabit fiber up north, so I get to be a bandwidth snob. Comes with the territory, I guess.
Not only do I have a shit internet connection, but I've also put this Heath Robinson collection of free software components between me and Twitch. So it's an over complex setup and a shit internet connection.
Right. Although maybe that's what makes it work so well. I have been saying recently that one of the things that I've noticed is over the last few weeks, especially or few months, is that not only are the free software options good enough,
Mm.
in many cases they're actually a lot better than the sort of commercial alternative.
Yeah, well, I mean, particularly on the topic of streaming, I think the commercial alternative to OBS is OBS Studio, isn't it? It's OBS but sold to you.
Oh, Streamlabs,
Right?
which is
Yeah.
just yeah, Streamlabs is just a bunch of like plugins and stuff.
Mm.
And if you go and look at like professional streaming tips and stuff on YouTube, everyone says avoid Streamlabs, do
Oh,
not
right.
use
Mm.
Streamlabs because they're they're behind, their releases behind. They it's a small team that's responsible for all their own bugs
Mm.
and stuff like that. So yeah, so hello Amiga Gamer 1200, welcome.
Hi.
And yeah, it's really nice that this can actually be done with free software.
Mm. Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested in doing that, you can see the URL to the free software player on the TalkSoup. It is rtmp.obj-retain.com. The chat, which is on Mattermost, which is a free software platform, is at chat.obj-retain.com. And I think that's everything we offer. I've got an OmniFocus project for things that I need to do with and the fact that I'm using OmniFocus is perhaps something we should address during the course of this stream.
Oh,
Um,
I have thoughts because my OmniFocus is currently not working.
oh no! Oh, what's wrong?
So it's a combination of one password sucking
Hmm.
and OmniFocus sucking.
Nice.
And so I cannot convince. So Omni uses their own sync server, which is,
Hmm.
pretty reliable these days. When it first came out, I had a lot of problems with it, like just basically nuking my database.
Yeah, I think
Um,
at the time, Core Data iCloud Sync also had problems with nuking your
yeah,
database,
yeah,
and that was why they abandoned that ship.
yeah. And so, but then OmniFocus or OmniSync server, whatever the hell they call it, got better.
Mm.
But then every time every 2 weeks or so, it tells me, hey, you need to enter your password. So I go into one password and I copy my password and I paste it into
Mm. Mm.
OmniFocus and it says, nope, this is not your password. You need to reset your password.
Oh,
And I can't reset my password because my shit's encrypted
shit. Yeah.
and it will nuke the database to reset the password. And I've
Oh,
been through that song and dance with one password and OmniFocus 3 times now.
okay.
So I exported my OmniFocus database and I'm currently in the process of making a replacement for it in Nextcloud.
Nice. Okay.
And that's what I've been doing on the weekends.
Yeah, and so you got nothing done from any of your OmniFocus projects, unless you had
Right.
that in OmniFocus before you started, which you probably did,
I
don't you?
didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't because it wasn't. It was not an ongoing project when
Yeah,
OmniFocus
yeah.
was working.
Mm.
So, and this is not, I mean, this is not, I don't think it's actually Omni's fault. I think they make great software. I do think it's 1Password's fault. I think that Agile Bits shit the bed when they went to subscription and the
Okay.
quality of the software started sucking. And yeah, so I am not a fan of or a recommender of 1Password anymore.
I generally don't like. I mean, we've talked about 1Password before, and there was some disagreement in the chat whether my recollection of their um, switch to the subscription model reflected what other people had experienced, and I am happy. Like I'm happy to admit that I may be like recalling that falsely, but I hesitate to recommend um, like proprietary password managers to anybody apart from if you are fully suckling at Tim Cook's teat, then you should
Mm-hmm.
use the iCloud password thing, which for the most part works very well. But yeah,
Yeah.
like Amiga Gamer 1200 says KeyPass XC. Yeah, that works really well. You
Yep.
just like put your thing on Dropbox or Nextcloud or whatever, and then just have your client on every platform.
I've had a lot of really great luck with Bitwarden.
Okay, yeah.
And I only switched off of Bitwarden to 1Password because I thought, and this is a mistake I keep making over the last couple of months, I thought 1Password is the, this is their job. This is the only thing they do, and people pay the money for it, and so they must be good at it.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. Bitwarden is also a thing you can pay for, and it has the added benefit of being values aligned for me.
Right,
It works better than 1Password, and if bitwarden.com decides they don't want my money anymore, then I just install the Bitwarden server and host it myself, which I have the privilege and ability to be able to do that. Not everyone does, and I understand that. But Bitwarden is really great. The Nextcloud password manager is pretty good.
Yeah,
But the integrations are not quite there yet.
I used to use that, and it's a fine application, and it's got a lot of useful features like duplicate detection, like password strength monitoring, like random password generation. I think it has Have I Been Pwned integration. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it does. But the no web browser works very well with it at all because they all go, oh look, a password field. Let me fill in a strong password for you. Like, no, fuck off. Let me use the password from my password manager, and then you finally get through all of that and get to use your password, and it goes, do you want me to update your saved password for nextcloud.imleague.com or imleg.com? And you go, no, I don't, because that's not what I've been doing.
Right.
So Amiga Gamer 1200 says feels like overkill having a server running. I would agree with that.
Yes.
But you don't, or rather, I don't only use Nextcloud for my passwords. So it's not so much turning on a server to have a password manager. It's turning on a password manager on my server.
Yeah, and also I think that, and I hope that this will be, sort of my line of work someday. I hope that we can get Nextcloud to a place where someone can go into their local big box store and buy a box and then plug it into their home network and have it work. And we now have the technologies to be able to do that. We now have dynamic DNS protocols that are open and well supported. WireGuard is really great. We're using it for this stream, in fact. WireGuard is really great at building very secure tunnels with very minimal effort. And so I think, and I hope, and I intend to bet my future on it, that that we'll be able to get to a point where any person, because people are already doing this. They're already going to the store and buying a wireless router and plugging it in. They're already going to the store and buying, security cameras and a base station and plugging it in and configuring it through a web interface. People are already doing this stuff. I think that we can get a thing based around Nextcloud or similar that works well enough for, general end users. and I really think that that's I think that that's where we need to be going instead of having Amiga Gamer 1200 said they essentially do this with home storage like Western Digital MyClouds. That's true. They are appalling. And this is another example where TrueNAS is the free thing that you can install on your own computer. You can order it from TrueNAS.com. Great free software based on FreeBSD. And it's better than what you buy when you go in and buy a D-Link NAS or a Synology or whatever. It's just a better experience. And if you buy it directly from TrueNAS, you'll pay more than you did for the Synology, but you'll get a better experience.
So I used to, and we're going back away now. We're probably going back like 10 years. But I used to have Drobo, Data Robotics Drobo FS, which is like NAS in a box. But it was a NAS in a box that had a not trivial amount of computing power and ran Linux with their crappy web interface. So and then you could turn on Samba or like an AFP server, use it for Time Machine and all that kind of stuff. And you could imagine on the one hand, using TrueNAS or whatever to do Nextcloud on top of your Drobo NAS. On the other hand, you can also imagine following Aral Balkan's idea of having Nextcloud as a small web sort of space and just having a command that turns on a Nextcloud on a computer if you've already got obviously when you get hosted Nextcloud, what you get is redundancy and disaster recovery plans and offsite backups and all that kind of stuff that you don't get from just typing /nextcloud.py on on your Linux box. But you get that option to kind of very easily go from nothing to cloud server.
Yeah, and there are a few different options for this. I mean, you can go into your Synology app store and install Nextcloud, and you can do it on TrueNAS. You can do it on a whole bunch of places. But I still think that this is a physical piece of hardware that somebody buys in a store and plugs in, and then it works.
Yeah,
I think that's where we need to be.
I think that's a good end goal. So I don't know the answer to Amiga Gamer 1200's question about Nextcloud supporting rclone.
I actually don't know either, but I do know that their WebDAV support is massively improved.
Okay.
I think it's up to spec with all of the current WebDAV standards. So if it was missing a part of WebDAV, then I suspect that it's there now.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure because I don't use it in that way.
Sure. So going back to we got onto this topic because I was looking at my OmniFocus project for objc Retain. I have two tasks on it. One is the thing you get out of Twitch, you don't get out of the free software platform, is a notification when we go live. And I don't know what it would mean to do that, to make that out of free software, but I would like to have that capability. And the other is for my benefit. I have to when I add pages to the website, I have to SFTP it to my host, and I want to just have a continuous delivery pipeline for it. It's just a Hugo website that needs copying from one place to another. And I haven't made the configuration change that lets me do that automatically. But those are, so that go live notification is, as far as I'm concerned, the one thing that is between us and having a fully free software streaming platform.
Well, you're also missing that we can't quit our day jobs if we're given all the if we're doing this fully free software. But Twitch makes everyone rich, and Jeff Bezos too.
Yep. I'm certainly looking forward to some of that sweet trickle down coming my way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think on the other stream that we don't talk about on this stream, I think there is subscriber revenue coming in, but we still haven't hit whatever the minimum threshold is that they actually give it to you. I think you have to hit like $100 before they give you any money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matthew Scala has said that he's had problems with using Mattermost chat, so I am going to log into
Oh,
Mattermost and see whether I can uh, see any admin things. Um,
okay.
I can.
I don't think I've tried the Mattermost chat yet. Um, it's on it's in my OmniFocus that I can't look at anymore.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it's yeah, it's an ongoing problem because for the way my brain works, OmniFocus or a tool like it is kind of the center of where all of my stuff goes.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and I was already getting to the point where OmniFocus doesn't have everything because I don't have the external stuff, right? So like GitHub notifications, GitLab notifications, mentions on Slack, all of these API integrations that would be really nice. I want an item in my GTD inbox when somebody
mm,
mentions me in a
mm.
Slack channel because there's
Right,
that
right.
almost at a minimum I need to reply to them or acknowledge that they've talked to me. But usually people when they're pinging me by name on a Slack channel, they're doing so because they want me to do something for them. And that is the kind of thing that I basically was going to have to build myself anyways, and so I might as well integrate it with other tools rather than integrate it
Mm.
with OmniFocus. So Matthew says his message is no teams are available to join. Please ask your administrator for an invite.
Yeah,
So
so
that must
I
be the
I can see that there are actually 5 people I recognise as not me, who are all users, and uh, I can see that they are members. I can manage teams, but I'm not allowed to from there uh, configure which teams they're on. Um, so I am going to. Uh, I'm going to have to look into that off stream, I think, because I can't see the button I need to make it happen. Ideally, when you sign up, you would automatically join the correct team. Oh, I wonder whether I can do it from the team settings. Allow any user with an account on this server to join this team. Yes. Save that. Right, now anyone who has already got an account on Mattermost can join the objc-retain team, and hopefully that gets us somewhere. Matthew Sky says, I would love for my own stream to have a chat where people don't need to sign up at all. Yeah, I mean, so what I looked at originally was IRC, and I was going to set up Unreal IRCD, and that was now I can actually add people to the team, so I'm going to just do that quickly. So yeah, it turned out that there was just too much complexity in getting an IRCD to set up and running properly, because like they don't include services, so you have to get like the Nick serve and the Chan serve and all that kind of stuff from somewhere
right.
else, and then you have to plug that in, and you need a database that those things can connect to. Mattermost does also need a database, but there's like there's a Snap on the Snap Store, and you can you just use that and you're done. So I have added right. I did see another name, Hupinicates. I'm just going to get this done because then everyone.
Then people can that then the community can exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Add mscala. Hupinicates. Done. Right, they've all been added to the team. So we should see on there, added to the team. Nice.
Aha. There we go.
So
All right.
there is a channel on the team called Stream Chat. There's a channel on the It's confusing nomenclature, but yes, there is a channel called Team Chat, and you can go there and then Stream Chat, and then you are on live on Twitch.
There we go.
Nice. Sorry that was harder
All
than
right.
I thought.
Well, it's software. These things sometimes are harder than we think.
So
yeah.
So what we actually wanted to shit talk about, 25 minutes into the stream, was never mind. Was two.
And also, I may have to. I may have to piss off early and leave Grandma alone to finish.
Okay,
So-
and I may need to piss at some point soon.
Yeah.
So, what we wanted to talk about at the start of this stream was two different ideas of freedom, and this was motivated by the fact that we have both, and I'm sure that everybody else has too, recently had to run software update on our Macs to work around to get a fix for a bug where apps can break out of the quarantine, the gatekeeper like code sign based quarantine thing, by basically not being signed at all, but not. It's something like they don't have an info P list in them, so the thing doesn't think that they are bundles, so it doesn't think to check their signature and then runs it anyway. Some like fairly fundamental design flaw in deciding whether or not to even check the signature of an executable.
That's kind of brilliant.
Yeah, I mean it's a design issue,
Right.
rather than so GoToFail, which is famous, and now AGMB has joined as well. Welcome AGMB to Mattermost. So GoToFail was a code bug, and it was probably a version control related code bug, right? You ended up with the goto line that did the error exiting being pasted twice, and so it did the error exit even on non-errors, and then just didn't do a bunch of certificate validation. Now that is a failure of the secure development lifecycle, and that's one that we would recognise as being like a failure of automated testing. You should be able to build automated tests for certificate validation, even if all you do is generate some data with OpenSSL and then check that the data is interpreted the same way that OpenSSL does it. That is a collection of useful tests. And this one, I don't know whether it's named. I kind of don't like the naming security vulnerabilities thing anyway, but I can't remember whether it has a name. Is what we would recognise as a design failure. Like someone didn't think of this situation in which you need to check the signature of an executable, and they don't.
Right.
So, so the question of whether Apple has a secure development lifecycle. I mean, they used to have Windows Snyder as one of their senior people on the security engineering side, and she was the person at Microsoft who was responsible for their secure development lifecycle at around the time of Windows XP Service Pack 2. People who don't follow Microsoft or don't particularly pay attention to InfoSec may not realize that Microsoft literally downed tools during the lifetime of Windows XP and did we are going to fix the security, and then we are going to release the security fixed version, and we are going to do nothing else until we have finished that. They literally, edict from Bill Gates, everyone stops work until we fix security. Apple has not had that moment, and despite hiring the same people, I think I think they haven't had the same realization of the importance of this, probably because it isn't important to their business. I mean, if we want to be honest about it, we have to say, like, Apple are not losing money from having insecure software, and it's probably unfair to say that they have insecure software. Apple are not losing money from having poor security development practices.
Right.
But what they are doing is, is frequently having to be on the back foot and and release like embarrassing security updates. But this is
there have been a few embarrassing ones, like really embarrassing ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one is perhaps more embarrassing because it is in a security component of the operating system. But I think that thought number one, which isn't the one we were going to talk about at the beginning of this stream, but now is that Apple see security as a tentpole feature. They don't see it as a part of doing business. And like I say, it's not harming their business particularly. It's not like they're losing money over this thing, but they are perhaps damaging their reputation among certain groups of people, but certain influential groups of people, the groups of people who originally bought a copy of TextMate and Power Books so that they could do Rails development back in a billion years ago.
Right, but that's also a longer term thing that doesn't make it into a quarterly earnings call.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. But the other thing was let's kind of either pretend that these security features work as advertised, or at least accept that they by and large work as advertised. I wanted to explore the two different ideas of software freedom, and actually in the while we were talking this up before we went live, you pointed out that there are actually three ways to think about this. But I'm going to describe my two, and then turn it over to you to talk about where those fit and where the third fits in. So the free software world gives us the freedom to do what we want with our computers, and to a first approximation, literally nobody in the free software world uses sort of explicit intentional consumer security software. Nobody is using antivirus, anti-malware, potentially unwanted applications. We just have this kind of idea that that's a Windows problem, which is also true for Mac people.
Right.
And there is secure software, there is security software available for the platform. But we typically, we don't have a thing where only applications that have been signed by Canonical can run on your on your Ubuntu box, or only applications that have been signed by Neil McGovern can run on your Debian box or anything like that. And Apple do, and Microsoft do to some extent as well. But Apple have gone very far down this line, and I think that is also a certain type of freedom. It is the freedom not to worry about what is going on your computer.
Yeah, and Firefox does this too with the new containers feature and stuff, where they say, look, websites can do all of this nasty shit, and we're going to lock out the nastiest of it, or we're going to at least contain the nastiest of it. And so Firefox does the Apple thing, where they say, look, it's a big bad world out there, and we're going to try and protect you from as much of it as possible.
Okay, yeah.
And that's there's value in that, right? It's I think in the free software community we sometimes have it's sort of the C language approach, which is also the Git approach, right? We're giving you enough rope to do everything you want.
To shoot yourself in the foot.
To shoot yourself in the foot, right? And in the free software world, you become responsible for that yourself in a lot of ways. And on the web, you become responsible for it yourself. And I think there's value in having maybe not a commercial vendor or whatever, but I think there's value in introducing protections from malicious actors.
Yeah, and so what we get from the sort of Apple view is the freedom to not worry about this stuff, as long as we replace not worrying about this stuff with worrying about whether Apple is worrying about this stuff.
Right.
And so and that is that is, I think, the ideological difference here is the free software world is about, it's your computer, you can do what you want with it, and the Apple one is a free software zealot or I don't even want to use the word zealot, purist. Purist is a better word.
Yes.
A free software purist would say it's Apple's computer and they get to worry about what you do with it, which is not quite fair. I mean, there is definitely a sort of middle ground of ownership that is implied by the let me just ban that person. There is a middle ground of ownership that is implied by the end user license agreements and by features like Gatekeeper, where Apple gets to decide what software runs on your computer, which if managed correctly is not a problem for most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and big joke to the spammer, by the way, because we're not even letting our followers pay us.
Jeff is not letting our followers pay us.
Right.
I am.
There's a certain amount of value in that.
Patreon.com/IamLeg.
Right. And there's a certain amount of value in it's basically outsourcing your worry about what other people are going to do to you, right? And I do that with Firefox. I let Firefox contain certain threats, and I let Apple contain certain threats for me. And so there's a certain value in outsourcing some of that concern.
No, absolutely. And for people who aren't as strongly knowledgeable about how computers work and about how software works as you are, there is a hell of a lot more both sort of convenience and peace of mind in that. It's actually, when we say security, it is a security feature. It makes those people more secure. It makes them feel more secure. But it is also a convenience feature, a peace of mind feature, and and a freedom to them. It frees them from this concern that they shouldn't have to have.
Mm-hmm. I do want to draw attention to the chat because Adrian B says that one problem with trusting Apple is sometimes it can be hard to know if they've done what you expect. They spent about 30 minutes trying to find out if the security update for Catalina had the fix by trying to reference the CVE in the release notes. But now, as a free software bigot, I am going to throw OpenBSD under the bus here because the last time OpenBSD had a root hole, or one of the, and there are very few of those, there was a remote root hole in OpenBSD. The commit message was something like "the sky is blue," and so they hid it as well. And so this is not a thing that you can outsource the handling of this kind of thing, but you have to do it to someone who you trust to do it on their terms, because they may not they may not report what they're doing in a way that you appreciate.
No, that is that is a very good point. And also, like along with Apple's ability to control bad actors on their platform, comes Apple's ability to control actors on their platform, which
Yes.
has not always been used for the purposes of removing insecure software. In fact, you could argue that there is quite a lot of scamware on the App Store that gets removed on a case-by-case basis. You know, these things that have limited functionality but a $99 a month like subscription rate. Those are not like dealt with systematically. Or Fortnite. You know, is Fortnite really a security problem?
Right. I went through this with anti-RSI, which we worked on this stream, and then I integrated all the changes and I cut a release on GitHub and I built it on my Mac and I put, if you go to github.com/srbaker/anti-RSI to the releases, you can download anti-RSI for your Mac. I don't think it's notarized. I'm pretty sure if you install it on your computer, it is signed with all of my keys and stuff, and I tithed to Apple to be able to sign it with some keys. But I didn't go through any notarization process. I'm pretty sure if you try to run the app, it gives you the, hey, this app is potentially malicious. And anti-RSI is a small enough program that you can read all of the source code to, and indeed we did on this stream.
That's true.
And so
even smaller since we deleted the bits that didn't work on GNU Step.
Right. This it's the lean, mean, less features machine.
Was the of RSI software.
Right. And so I went through this process and I decided, you know what, logging into Apple and uploading shit is just a bridge too far. I can type Xcode build and anyone with a Mac can check it out and type Xcode build and run it on their own machine. I'm giving you the application if you want to run it, and you're going to get an annoying pop-up. And so that kind of shit is annoying, but I also probably don't want to on a program as small as anti-RSI that I really only work on for my own use. I don't really care to support people who are concerned that this random thing they download on the internet is going to be malware. So, you know, but it's definitely a cost benefit thing that I had to think about. Do I want to spend the time to get this sort of, notarized? Amiga Gamer 1200 points out that Google are similar. The Play Store is full of scams, but Google are more interested in removing apps like LBROI, which provides competent YouTube alternative. So my argument against Google is that Google is the bad guy. Google is what I want protection from, and Apple provides me some protection from Google. I actually care a lot less about whatever malware happens to be in the store than I do about Google being on my phone. Because I consider Google to be the bad guy. And that is, again, one of those cost benefit things that I've had to personally and repeatedly make decisions based on. And this is an increasing problem where the vendors that we're giving money to, Google and Facebook and all these people, all these corporations, which are not people,
moral people,
right? We are increasingly those fuckers are the bad guys. Facebook and Google are who I need protection from. I don't need protection from, random open source developer on the internet as much as I need protection from Google and Facebook. So those things are important to consider as well. And I think that when you sort of outsource that bit of it to Apple, maybe there's some value in that.
So Amiga Gamer 1200's next point is that Apple are just as bad, and there is a study which, as Amiga Gamer 1200 is going to find the link, I don't need to, about the amount of telemetry that Apple send home, and it's like something like 25% the amount that there is on Android, which is obviously still a lot. A factor of 4 different is not an order of magnitude different, and it's not a sea change. The different we've talked about this privately before. Like
Mhm.
The difference is that Apple uses that for themselves, and
Yes.
that Google use that in order to like sell inferences based on it to other people, and potentially also sell the raw data itself. Although I
Yeah.
tend to be a
Google,
bit, I tend to
there,
be
if you have
sorry.
enough money, Google will sell
Right,
you the
right,
actual data.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tend to be skeptical about that because that is like selling the goose that lays the golden egg. Having been on the inside in Facebook, I know that Facebook wouldn't sell the data because
Mhm.
then Facebook wouldn't have monopoly on the data, which is the thing that actually drives their revenue. Um,
Right.
but like this is all contingent on Apple carrying on doing now what they are doing, carrying
Hmm.
on doing into the future what they are doing now. Now we know that they tried ads before with iAd, and the reason they rode back from that is that they weren't particularly good at it, and
Right.
so they didn't get the revenues they wanted.
But now
And
they have
so
all this data that can be way better at it.
so there's that, and there's like the fact that they became the privacy anti-ad company on the back of being bad at ads. But now they've got
Hmm.
this, they've got search ads in the App Store, which is basically the only way that you can get, that you can guarantee that your app is going to get seen in the App Store now. So as well as your 30% tithe to Apple for payment processing, which let's leave aside whether that is valuable or not. Whether on top of that you also have to pay them for ads so that they will show their customers that your thing that you are supplying them so that they can already make money off of it. So they're basically taking a double dip there.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, and like so they're actually very close in my mind to being hypocritical on the matter of ads. Like
Yep.
they claim to be against advertising and tracking and everything, and they collect this vast amount of data, and they have significant ad revenue. And I can't see if if they need to appease the shareholder by growing their services revenue year on year, I can't see them not opening that box at some point in the future.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. It is sort of a fine line to walk, which they have been doing so far, and they seem to be going on what I would consider to be the wrong side of it. And it's really it's troubling, but also in the same way that I tell people, politics in Sweden are going to shit, but they started going to shit 40 years after Canada started going to shit, and that's why I moved here.
Hmm.
Apple started going to shit a decade or decades after Google started going to shit. And I mean, Google basically started out that way almost, and and so we still have more time with Apple being the good guy, and we don't have any time with the time where Google was the good guy is long gone.
No, I know. I remember getting a Gmail account in like 2004 or whenever it was, and
Mm-hmm.
like they were the do no evil company, and they were had this massive free offering that was much better than everybody else's, and everybody like uncritically accepted it in the same way that everyone just signed up for
Yep.
Hey Email last year, and are now discovering that actually Basecamp are only in it for the money, and
Right.
are no more a social good company than Google ever were.
I don't know how you can look at a company owned by a guy who has a car named after him, and there's only one in the world, and think that they're not only in it for the money. There is
Nice.
literally a car, the Pagani Zonda HH.
Nice.
uh and yeah, and unfortunately that is the world that we're going to. I hope that the sea is turning on that. I hope that people are starting to realize that too much of their data is out there, and I'm also hoping that people are not resigned to the fact that, well, it's already out there and it's too late.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that we're actually, for the most part, in a regime where people don't know. We are in and David Rice wrote a good book on this called Geekonomics, which is actually a few years old now, but I don't think the situation has changed, where he says that software at the time that he was writing, but like for our purposes, software now is in the state that automobiles were in the 1960s, and that there hasn't been a Ralph Nader of software yet. There hasn't been a unsafe at any speed of software, and I think that's right. I think it's not ignorance; it is lack of awareness.
Yeah, totally. And Amiga Gamer 1200 says that they take the attitude that if you're getting something for free, then you're paying in other ways. That's absolutely a thing. But I also think that is a justification that we as nerds can make. And I don't think that your average person realizes the scope and the depth of these problems and the potential fallout from them.
Exactly.
There are a few things that hit, mainstream news. There was the guy who had the FBI raid his house because he searched for three people in his house. One searched for a slow cooker, one searched for a new backpack, and one searched for a soldering iron in one house. And the FBI said, "Oh, this is a house that we need to hit because they're making bombs." And there's just, unfortunately, there's not enough of that in public discourse. There's not enough of that in the eyes and in the minds of your average person who just thinks that, I got a gmail.com address and it's great because it's free and it has lots of storage.
Yeah, and those other ways aren't necessarily the data selling ways. Like you get a free email address from your ISP. It's not so that they can monetize your email data because they're already charging a subscription. It's so that they can lock you into that subscription because you can't move away without like losing your email.
Yeah, exactly. And other vendors do this too. You get it's not really a thing in Sweden, but in Canada you still, as far as I know, when you get a cell phone, you get like if you go and get an iPhone on a 3-year plan, you are now locked into a contract until until the phone is paid for or whatever, and you can't get out of it early, and things like that. Like these are, you're paying, you're getting your lower priced phone in terms for lock-in. So there's a lot of different ways to pay for the supposedly cheaper thing, or there's a lot of different ways to pay for things.
Yeah. So earlier you threw OpenBSD under the bus. I think it's time to redeem them because the third way that we were talking about with regards to the sort of the gatekeeper / code signing versus do whatever the fuck you want was Pledge, which as far as I in Britain am concerned is a brand of furniture polish.
Right, we have that in Canada too, actually.
Right.
So the Pledge system in OpenBSD is a new system call, which, when a new system call gets added to a Unix, it's no small deal. And Pledge basically says that it's a way for the programmer to say, this program is going to do these things. It's going to talk over the network on these ports. It's going to touch the file system in these places. It's going to use video hardware or not use video hardware or whatever. And OpenBSD will shut your shit down if if your program tries to do something that you didn't already pledge you were going to do. And I think that this is a really good solution to the problem because it allows the programs to be infinitely flexible. You can have a program that does whatever you want, which I can't do on my Mac. There are certain things that programs on my Mac just aren't allowed to do unless they ask Apple permission. But it does provide a system that checks and refuses to allow software to do things that it didn't say it was going to do. So it says, I'm going to touch the file system under this place. And if somebody tries, I'm going to have access on a Mac, you see, this program wants access to your downloads folder. This program wants access to your documents or whatever. In OpenBSD, you would say, I want to be able to touch all of the files in a music player, for instance, might say, I want to touch all the files in the music folder in your home directory, and I'm not going to touch anything else on the file system. And if there's a malicious program that exploits a bug in your music player to be able to access your documents, then the music player gets shut down by the kernel. And I think that this is a really nice way to do this, because it means that your program can do whatever it tells you it's going to do, and it can't do anything else. And it can't be forced to do anything else. And the way, I mean, I could even envision a great user interface around this that collects all the pledge calls in a piece of software and lists them in the way that app entitlements on iOS or whatever they're called on Android, where it says, this app is going to touch your documents, and it's going to touch, or this app is going to touch your music and nothing else, and it's going to touch your sound hardware to play the music, but it doesn't have access to your microphone, it doesn't have access to your camera. And I think it's a really great way to do it.
So I was going to ask about UI, because I can definitely see how that stops you. It stops various kind of attacks, like return to libc attacks or code injection attacks, because you get to say, here's the sort of security stance of this application, and it will not do anything outside that, and cannot do anything outside that. But what both what both the Apple and Android systems are trying to do is partly that idea that, so the security system on Unix is multi-user, and that this is no longer fit for purpose. It now needs to be multi-application. We have to protect each application from the other applications, rather than each user account from the other user accounts. But it's also just being upfront about what an application's capabilities are to that user, and saying, this thing does have access to your camera, this thing doesn't have access to your camera. And so there's all this you have to provide on the Apple platform. You don't on Android, but on Apple you have to say, here is why I want your location. And if you don't have that explanation in your info plist file, then you are not allowed to ask for the location privilege. And does OpenBSD kind of cover that use case?
So my understanding is it doesn't.
Okay.
So there's not a way to see what applications have access to that. I could be wrong. It looks like there's a new pledge man page, actually.
Okay.
In section 1. And I can't find it. But yeah, it looks like there is a command line program that will let you that will let you say, what things is this program allowed to do.
Okay.
Now, if that program doesn't exist, it is easy to write, because the information's all there, and it's also a system call. So you also have the ability to log what is this thing doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that I don't know about the user interface.
And can it be made mandatory? Can you have an OpenBSD where you're not allowed to run unpledged software, or where unpledged software isn't allowed to do anything?
Yeah. So
okay.
in OpenBSD, everything in the base system is already pledged.
Right.
And they went through the ports and pledged the ports.
Okay.
So if you install Chrome or Chromium, or I think Firefox as well on OpenBSD, those run using pledge.
Right, sure. That's really interesting. So,
yeah, it's part of what porters do on OpenBSD. I don't know if it's the entire operating system or if it's the entire ports tree, but it is all of the things that people like. The most commonly used stuff is already supporting pledge.
Okay.
And so it's a really nice system.
That then makes me ask, as we see Amiga Gamer 1200's point about Cubes OS, it makes me wonder, if I go in here, am I going to find any pledge? Probably.
Almost definitely not in GNU Step.
Yeah, and probably not in Foundation either, because that's not where you can actually make the pledge, is it?
It would be a user level thing, probably.
Yeah, let's try GWorkspace, because I mean that could be a future. That could be a future direction. Like throw change the SSD in here, put OpenBSD on it, and play
Yeah,
a bunch of the
that would be
GNU
awesome.
apps.
I would love
Yeah.
to see some UI for it, to be able to see like which programs are doing what. Because in the early days of Pledge, they just said, okay, well this program. So when you run an OpenBSD, so software that doesn't call Pledge ever, as I understand it, has access to everything to maintain backwards compatibility.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And so, but I think the PS command in OpenBSD tells you if the software is using Pledge at all or not.
Okay.
So I can't remember exactly, but yeah, but as part of the OpenBSD system, it is widely supported, and in the ports as well.
Because I think SE Linux, when that was introduced, which is a different way of doing mandatory access control at the kernel level, had 3 settings. There was like off, there was reporting, and there was on. And so you could, for legacy software, you could just turn it off and have like everything is allowed to do whatever it wants. But you could have it is on, but it isn't going to kill anything that violates its policy. It's just going to log it. So you could watch what your software was trying to do and then design a policy with that in mind. And that would be a useful sort of transitional ground to an all pledge system. Is say, yeah, okay, non-pledge software does get to do everything, but it it will log when it goes wrong, or it doesn't get to do anything, but when it dies, the core dump tells you the pledge system call it should have made in order to have not died.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. I know there are some tools around this, and since Pledge works at the system call level, you can just run. I think it's strace, right? The system call logger,
Yeah.
and see what your program is trying to do. So there are some interesting things around this. Obviously, it needs more attention to provide better tooling around it, but that's definitely something that I would like to see, and I would be interested in working on. I do need to take a 2-minute break, and then we can get to some work.
Yeah,
I'll be
sure.
right back.
Okay. So Mov.1 says pledging might be an issue with GNU because the GS framework started a tool that makes network connections support distributed objects, even if the app itself doesn't use the network. That is true, but there's a process called GDO map that is used for that is the name server for distributed objects connections. Because on NextStep and OpenStep and macOS 10, the Mach kernel has a built-in name server. It doesn't, interestingly, on Herd use the file system as the name server. Well, it actually probably does, but it's not how you do it on Herd. You use the file system as your hierarchical naming system. But GNU has to work on systems that don't have the Mach name server, so it has GDO map. Now, I don't know. I would be interested to see whether I even have GDO map running at all. No, so it isn't started unless you start it, which just means that distributed objects isn't going to work, which is fine because I don't need distributed objects to work, and it's quite an old technology that people don't use. But it means that you could. And so like all of my GNU apps are working. Like this is TalkSoup for the chat, and this is the GNU terminal app. These things are all working without GDO map running, which means that if those applications don't need distributed objects, they don't need to pledge the GDO map network port, which is actually what weirdly GNU is, I think, one of the named. Yes, it is. It's one of the named ports in services.
Mm-hmm.
So someone went to the organisation that we call IANA, or which everyone also knows as the person called Postal, and asked for the GNU Step TCP port to be one of the privileged ports.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you would have to, in OpenBSD, you would have to pledge that you want to be able to talk on that port.
Only if you use distributed objects. What I found while you were away is that I'm not even running the server on this computer and everything is working.
Right.
Right. I also need a 2-minute break. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could try and work out how far we got last time and what we need to do this time, or you could carry on shit talking. I don't mind.
We can do, so let's take a look. So what we started doing last week or 2 weeks ago was working on SimpleAgenda. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. And we'll see if there's any unstaged changes. There are not any useful changes. So let's take a look at the log and see what we did last time. We added the duration units to the appointment editor. I do remember doing that. And so what we're trying to do with SimpleAgenda is SimpleAgenda. Let me run it. SimpleAgenda is a calendaring application. And when you make an appointment in SimpleAgenda, you could say what the start time and how long it was, but it wasn't possible to make a multi-day event. And I wanted to be able to make multi-day events. So we added a duration units so that we could say, do we, let me just start Emacs and we'll take a look at it. So we added a duration units. Oh, I'm not sure if GNU Step Emacs is going to work right. And I don't think it is. So we're going to do this. And so what we did was we went into the appointment view, I think, and we added the duration. Nope, it was an event. We added a duration units so that when so the event model has an int duration, which I think is a number of seconds. And what we want to be able to do is say that actually the duration of this event is this many hours, this many days, this many weeks, I think were the numbers that we chose. And that's what we started doing. Welcome back, Graham.
Thank you.
I heard the kerchunk of your microphone mute button.
Yeah. And weirdly, so I pressed it a few times and the physical button didn't make the kerchunk until it actually took. So that's
good at least.
Yeah.
So so in the appointment editor, we added, there was already duration and there was duration text, and we've added duration units to the appointment editor. I think where we ended last week was we needed to.
So duration units is the pop-up button that.
Yes.
It is not the units itself, which might mean it's badly named.
Right.
Anyway.
Yes. And what we realized was because of the event model has a duration in seconds, we actually don't care to store the duration units. We just care to do maths and set the appropriate duration on. So we have the select duration units. We have the select duration units method, and what we want to do and where we stopped. So here's the duration units, minutes, hours, and days. And what we want to be able to do when we stopped was when somebody sets the duration units, we want to multiply by the appropriate value for the units and then set the duration on the event to that number of seconds.
Oh, now that's a problem, isn't it? Because we then need the previous version. If the model contains the number in seconds, then we need to know what the value of the units was changed from and to know what the factor is to multiply that by. So if currently the if currently the editor says 3 hours and I change it to minutes, then I want to divide the duration of my event by 60 because I want to go from 3 hours to 3 minutes.
Right.
If it currently says minutes and if it currently says 3 minutes, I'll change it to 3 days, and I want to multiply it by 60 times 24 because I want the duration of the event to be 3 times 3 days, but in seconds, and it was 3 minutes.
Right, but in the event we always store it in seconds. So when you select the duration units, if you have 5 hours, we multiply that to get the number of seconds.
Yeah,
and
then I change it.
Yeah,
is my point. So okay. So the duration is. Okay. So does the controller have the number? Okay, I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the controller has the number field, so it can get the value of the time, and then we multiply that by the selected units multiplier, and then we store that number in the model. Okay, yeah, I've got it.
Right. So what we have in Appointment Editor, we have
time text, presumably.
Actually, I don't know what duration text and time text are. We should look at that. But we have duration here.
Duration, right.
Oh, okay. So what we call duration in the editor is not duration in the model. Or maybe it was, I guess. So wherever in the controller where we're setting the duration on event, that's where we do it.
Yeah, you got it.
Look for.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah. So it's duration set int value times 60, and.
Well, that's the wrong way around. Because that's saying that the value in the field is 60 times larger than the duration of the event.
Yes.
So that's not going from.
I think the duration used to always be hours.
Right.
I guess it must be minutes, not seconds. Right.
But that then is weird.
That is weird.
Because if the event duration was in minutes, and the view duration was in hours, I would want to divide the model duration by 60. Because 120 minute long event should show 2 in the UI for 2 hours.
Right.
But this is doing the opposite of that.
Right. Okay, maybe we should look at the old version of it to see what it actually did. Let me... if we check out this one... I think I can do that. And then build. And then run it. And then we can see what it looks like. I do not have a slash.
Wow.
Build. Is it build? No, it's obj, isn't it?
Actually, no, it should just be /SimpleAgenda.app.
Oh, okay. There we go. And then
simple agenda in there.
There we go. In the resources, right?
No, just at the top.
No. Oh, there we go. Okay. So if we go into events, new appointment, we get duration hours in the UI.
Yeah, but this hours is static text, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So duration hours in the UI, and then right, and so it's stored in minutes in the model.
But what I'm saying is that the duration in the UI, which is the integer value of this text field. Sorry.
Yep.
Right. This one is the text, and this slider is the other one, I guess. the int value of that is 60 times larger than the value in the model. So if this is 1, then this is 1/60th. It isn't 60. So if this is in integer hours,
Right.
and then this is in integer 60 hours.
Right.
Is it-
No, because event duration, this bit, event duration, is in minutes. And so when we init,
okay, but the thing,
Yeah.
the relationship between the thing that is in minutes and the thing
Yep.
whose value is 60 times larger than the thing in minutes is the thing in seconds.
Right.
So if this is in hours,
Yep.
and the number here is
Yep.
60 times larger than this number, then for this number
Right.
to be 1, that number has to be 1/60th, not 60.
Right. Right.
But 1 hour is 60 minutes, not 1/60th of a minute.
Right.
So this relationship is the other way around.
Right.
So my guess is that this is doing... So this is doing formatting on something that's larger. My guess is that this is in... Sorry, the event duration is in minutes or seconds. That this is in hours or minutes, and that it's being formatted such that...
Yeah, there's an NS date formatter in there, I think, that does the duration.
Because
text.
I can have non-integer hours here.
Right. Yeah. So that's duration text.
So what we actually need to do
And-
is to look at the event model class and to work out how its duration is.
And we should also get our
treated.
latest code. Now I'm in detached head state. How do I get back?
Git checkout head.
Nope.
Git checkout master.
Shit. That would be it. Or if I can scroll.
Or did we name the? We probably named the branch, didn't we? Do git branch. And check out-
There it is. Yep. Yeah. Okay, that's it. And then I'm
Nice.
just going to build it again so that we have. Okay. Okay, so we are now in the event model. And where's the header file? There's the header file. So it's int duration.
Okay, so this
And
duration.
and it's in minutes.
Right. Okay. So now we can build the picture. This the event duration is in minutes. The UI is showing seconds, but it's showing seconds formatted in such a way that you end up with hours and minutes in display.
Right, okay. Okay. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Right, okay. All right, now I understand what you were saying. Okay, that was confusing the shit out of me.
that.
All right.
You're right. That was confusing.
Uh,
There is perhaps
Okay, and
insufficient
also-
naming of things in this to make that clear.
Definitely. Okay, so if in the so now when we change when the selection drops down. Okay, so now we have sort of two problems. One is, well, no, we don't actually. We just if you select 3 weeks and set it, we now have a UI problem because we always have to show it in the same to start with because we don't store which duration. What we probably want.
That's, right. So now what we do in order to get the data into the model from the UI is clear, because we have a number and we have a duration. We multiply the number by whatever turns that duration into minutes, and then we store that in the model. That bit is easy. What we could even do is where we use the tags 0, 1, and 2 for minutes, hours, and days in the pop-up menu, we could change that to 1, 60, and whatever 60 times 24 is, and then just multiply the duration by the tag. And we're done, and we don't, dynamic dispatch for FTW. We don't even need to write a conversion table.
Let's do that.
So the question you were asking was, well, how do we display this? And the answer is, we look at what the size of the event is in minutes, and if it's bigger than 60, we show it in hours, and if it's bigger than whatever 60 times 24 is, we show it in days.
Right. Yep. Okay. So, if we go into appointment editor, yes, except that was the wrong one. And I think to start with, we should change that enum to start with. And then we can do, this is, I don't have an equals key. Can you fill in the multipliers there?
And I presumably can't do maths. I can't do maths there, because that wouldn't be a static.
1440. Okay, right. Okay, can you leave the trailing comma in there and see?
I think so. We'll find out, won't we?
Okay, we will. Okay, so then down in set duration. No. What was it called? It was called set duration units, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess we didn't define yet. Is it in the header file? I thought it was.
I thought we wrote it as well.
I thought we did it. Oh, it's select. Right.
Units.
Because it's a selection. There it is. Okay. And so then in select duration units, I don't remember how to get the number out of the sender.
Int value. Oh, sorry.
Int
no.
value.
No.
We don't want it from there anyway. We want it from the slider.
No. Yeah. So yes, the number comes from the slider, but the multiplicative factor comes from the tag of the sender.
Right.
Which we also
okay,
need
so
to
the
go back
multiplier
into
is
Score and
sender
change.
int value, right?
No.
No?
No, it's sender tag.
Sender tag.
Yeah. So we're going to have to go back
Okay.
into Gorm and change that.
Ah. Oh, right. Right. Okay, yep. Okay, so then we do... So here we want the... What's it called? Underscore event?
Yeah.
I don't remember the syntax for it. We don't have property syntax in this version, right? So we want set.
There's not used, so yeah, just set duration.
Set duration 2, and then what was the... it's self duration.
No, it shows, duration is an instance variable. So you can
Oh, of
just do
course.
Duration.
Right. Duration. Oh, and it is just... How do we get the value out of it again? Is
Int
that int value?
Yeah.
Int value. Okay. Set duration, and then it multiply by the here, you do this part because I can't remember the sender tag, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And we need to change those in Gorm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we probably need to extract that out to a method, because anywhere else that changes the event duration is also going to need to work that way.
Yes. So validate is the only other place it does it.
Right.
Well, in this class at least. And what calls validate? It's probably defining Gorm, right?
It may be set up as an action.
Okay, so then we want to select duration units, and we want to extract this into, whoops, set duration.
Probably don't want to call it set duration, because there is an instance variable
Right.
called duration.
Oh, right.
Probably want to call it update event duration.
Event duration, and then we're going to pass it the event, right? Oh no, it doesn't matter because we have that already.
Yeah.
So, and then we need.
So it doesn't need any parameter at all, I guess. Sorry. Is anyone else seeing fuzzy video?
Video?
That is a good question. I
will also
apparently have
check.
a good connection to the. Shish Kebab says it looks alright.
Okay. Yeah, it looks fine on my phone too.
Yeah. And
okay, so we want to
sorry.
update event duration. Oh, and actually, we can just call update event duration. We don't need to pass anything because everything's in instance variables. I need curly braces.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
All right. And I just got a notification that I have to peace out in 2 minutes.
Okay, sure.
So I have to leave you all alone for the last bit. And I apologize. And we self. Like that, right? I need a semicolon.
Yeah.
All right. And then we do set duration. Whoops. And then it's going to be self. Whoops. Oh, and I need a semicolon. Oh, I could have just stolen that one.
Yeah, you could have.
Whoops.
You didn't.
There we go. Okay, let's give that a crack.
So the first thing we do before we give it a crack is we have to go into Gorm and change
and update
those
the
tags. I'm hoping that this is still in the recents menu in Gorm. Yeah. We probably want to at some point remove that format from. Oh no, we have. We've removed it from there. Good. Okay, so what we want is let's make sure we're on the menus. Right, so the tag for this one needs to be 1. The tag for this one needs to be 60. And the tag for this one needs to be 1440. This isn't always a super scalable way to work with these UI things, but on things like pop-up buttons and NS Matrix, it's quite handy. You know, if you ever need to build a calculator app, just drag out 10 buttons and give them the tags 0 to 9, and you have a calculator. Right, so we want to save that. Okay, cool. We should be ready to go.
So if we gmake and nope.
Because we extracted the body of that update event duration.
Right. We don't have.
So that, yeah, actually,
We need to pass in the units, which we also have access to in the other place where we call it.
do we?
I'm pretty sure we do. Whoops. Oh well, it's an instance variable. It's whatever's selected in the window, right?
Well, what? No, because it is the sender here is the menu item that gets selected, not the pop-up button.
Right. Can we get the currently selected item from the pop-up button?
Probably. I just need to remember how.
Okay. And unfortunately, this is where I have to piss off, and I apologize.
All right. Well, I'll spend.
But I had a last-minute thing come up. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week. Greg has the answer. Look at that.
Yes.
You don't even have to look
Selected
it up.
item is the thing.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, folks. See you next week.
Cool. Right, so I'm going to put that in there, and then the next place we use update event duration here is going to be duration units selected item, which is the menu item tag. So this should give us one-way syncing of the value with the so we should now be able to put an event. Okay, we didn't get rid of that formatter, and that's annoying because this now says 1 hour minutes, which is wrong. And now, like the values here are completely bizarre. Okay, so we haven't. So we haven't done this very well at all. Okay, so we still need to diagnose what's going on there. There's only one of us here, which is not good for diagnosis purposes because these things are always better with pairs. So we are going to call that the end of the stream and look into that problem next week. Thank you very much to everyone who's got involved on the chat, whether you be on Mattermost or on Twitch, and I apologise for the problems with setup with Mattermost. Those have now been resolved, so you can now join the Mattermost chat once you've signed up for an account. Thank you very much for being with us for this episode, and we will talk to you again soon.